is our front door. This little corner piece right here.
I think it's this thick because I think they marked off the... So this is the front door.
6 months ago, the Taylor family home was incinerated during the Eaton fire.
Josie, can you picture your house?
Green room door. Over here, Mom and Dad's room. Roby's room. Then my room. Dresser.
Your dresser was right here?
Bed. My bed. That's about it.
Do you look at those mountains the same?
All I remember is Mom and Gianna opened the door and we could just see the flames.
It's the Eaton Canyon fire coming over the ridge to our house. What are we doing, Gianna?
We're just getting stuff ready to evacuate for like smoke and stuff. If you look through like that tree, there's the fire, the smoke, all that. It's pretty bad.
This is an absolute firestorm. 2 structures left on this entire street. Everything is on fire down here.
Over 100,000 residents remain under evacuation orders in the Palisades. Eaton, Hearst, Kenneth, and Lydia fires.
Fierce winds have turned wildfires into infernos.
First responders working tirelessly around the clock.
There are almost no words to describe the devastation in Los Angeles County.
How many eggs should we have? 8. Maybe we'll do 6. I think 6 will be good.
Stephanie, you have eggs?
14 miles away from where their home once stood, Stefan and Ariane Taylor try to maintain some normalcy for their 3 children.
There was so much instability that we kind of made it a point to find stability wherever we could.
I think had they lost their school, lost their home, and then had to start over in a brand new community with friends, that could have really been the straw that broke their back.
Correspondent Alex Perche was there when we first met the Taylors, just days after they escaped the flames.
This is our daughter, Gianna.
Back then, they were forced into small quarters, 6 people sharing 2 hotel rooms.
The kids need a yard. They need a familiar space.
They were still processing the night of the fire.
I was like, are we gonna die?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And in these moments, they saw the devastation for the first time. Their home, nothing but rubble and ash.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Gianna. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, my baby.
6 months later, after the ashes, the pain is still raw, but even stronger is the ache for home.
The houses behind us did burn and the houses up there are gone. And so because our house was further pushed back, it just luck of the draw.
Do you guys think about the fact that you are surrounded by homes right now that did not burn down?
No. I am just incredibly homesick. I'm really thankful that all these homes are still here. So that's what I think about. Like, before the lots were cleared, it looked like destruction everywhere. That's all you could see. And now that the lots are clear, you see opportunity and growth and progress. Josie, you have your lunch?
Each day, in the midst of uncertainty, finding routine is essential. Today, the family wakes up early
Yippee-ki-yay!
to get 7-year-old Josie, 12-year-old Gianna, and 14-year-old Stefan to their summer activities.
I like where we're living. The only thing I don't like is being in the car for a long time.
The Taylors are living in their 3rd temporary home, and hunting for a permanent one has become a feat on its own.
It's daunting, and sometimes it just kind of takes over your mind.
The LA wildfires claimed at least 30 lives, torched nearly 50,000 acres, and destroyed more than 16,000 structures. That amount of devastation had an immediate and lasting impact on the entire region's already difficult housing market.
This home already has 10 applications, and it's been contacted 67 times. We're number 68.
And a report by the Rent Brigade cited that there are over 5,000 rental listings with likely unlawful price increases that have been identified on Zillow alone.
LA is an incredibly expensive place to live, as it is. And so when you add all these other people who are now in the rental market that maybe weren't before, you're going to have a pretty significant impact.
Last month, the LA County Board of Supervisors approved a motion to extend housing price gouging protections, but that expires on July 31st.
So that was sort of the one thing you took?
Yeah.
Since the fire, the Taylors have paid out of pocket for their housing.
The cost of housing is astronomical. I mean, we were paying 3.5 times what we were renting before. FEMA is supposed to be there. I have spent hours and hours on the phone with them.
The Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, handles recovery efforts after disasters like these, but funds are limited and difficult to access. In terms of damage, the LA wildfires cost upwards of $164 billion in total property and capital losses.
What was the promise from FEMA specifically?
Temporary shelter reimbursement, rental assistance, just kind of filling the gaps. When I call, they say, you need to upload more documents. Okay, everything is uploaded. So I've given them everything that they need. It's just
FEMA guarantees no timeline as to when families will be reimbursed for their expenses.
The housing assistance is for 18 months. So
are you worried that your 18 months will essentially expire and then they wouldn't offer reimbursement?
Correct.
Government agencies like FEMA have had their funding slashed by DOGE, formerly run by Elon Musk. $646 million as part of what the administration said was rooting out waste and fraud, now staffed by just roughly 1/3 of the agency's full-time workforce. ABC News reached out to FEMA, and in a statement, a spokesperson told us in part that over 500 FEMA responders deployed to LA County to deliver expedited aid to more than 30,000 households. To date, over $3 billion has been made available for individuals and families, adding that FEMA's principles for emergency management assert that disasters are best managed when they're federally supported, state-managed, and locally executed.
Thank you.
Trump critical of FEMA while campaigning for the presidency, citing his disappointment in their emergency response, and he didn't hold back during his first official trip as president after Hurricane Helene slammed the Carolinas.
FEMA has been a very big disappointment. They cost a tremendous amount of money. It's very bureaucratic, and it's very slow.
The president going as far as suggesting ending FEMA in its entirety while still deploying aid in the meantime.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
The Taylors spend their days waiting for the call that will give them some answers. With no one assigned to their case, they speak to someone new each time. And the Taylors aren't alone. Mackay Ward, a third-generation resident of her Altadena home, faces her own battle.
Right here is my home, my grandparents' home, and then right here are my lovely neighbor's home. But these are the only two houses standing. Everything around us is completely abandoned. Okay, we are gonna be entering through our kitchen entrance. They did recently paint.
Living in the house her grandparents once lived in,
It's a very old school house.
Mackay isn't on their home insurance, leaving her with few options.
Right when insurance let me know that because I wasn't listed in my grandmother's trust, FEMA would then kind of be the next resource after. But then I was then denied by FEMA. This was kind of all burnt up. Had grapes. They tell us your property's still standing, so there's nothing that we can do. We can't test any soil. We can't remove anything, any debris from your lot. And all of this was in the living room.
On the surface, she's one of the lucky ones. But as she peels back the layers, there's a difficult reality.
Our old dining room.
Potential dangers like air pollutants, water quality, and lead and other toxic materials in the soil.
We are wearing masks currently because They have not actually tested for lead poisoning. Insurance refuses to test it for lead poisoning. So that also will be an out-of-pocket expense on our end to make sure that it's safe to come back to. On my end, I can say I've at least invested like $7,000 to $8,000. We unfortunately had looters break in.
And while she did have private insurance coverage, not everyone does, and not all insurance plans are created the same.
If insurance companies are free to just pull back and drop policies, people can't get the insurance coverage that they need.
Insurance companies have long been pulling out of California or limiting plans due to increased wildfire risks, plus difficulties sustaining profits. California offers a bare-bones insurance coverage plan dubbed the FAIR Plan. It was designed as a temporary safety net until policyholders could find a more permanent option. And despite the high premiums and basic coverage, the FAIR Plan has become a default for many. So far, the Los Angeles wildfires reached an estimated $75 billion in insured losses. On the front lines of it all, the California Department of Insurance regulating the rapidly changing industry.
But if insurance companies want to do business in California, they need to be writing in some of the higher risk areas, meaning they need to be taking policies back out of the FAIR Plan. They need to be doing their job, which is writing coverage for people in all areas.
A California judge ruled in June that insurance programs handling the smoke damage claims is unlawful. A win for homeowners. A spokesperson for the California FAIR Plan says they're reviewing the ruling and working to update its policy language. Mackay, searching for purpose in the weeks after the tragedy, teamed up with 3 other Altadena residents to create the Altadena Recovery Team. It's a charity-driven community organization that has delivered over 20,000 disaster relief kits to affected families.
Just being able to feel empowered and show up for our community has just given me a sense of hope. Altadena is not for sale.
You let me have the shelter.
I said, okay, we're going to say goodbye to the house. So I wanted the kids to write a letter and something that they wanted to keep here and not bring with them.
It's going to be a long haul. Families like ours, and I think the community at large, are up for that.
You're making good on the promise that Altadena is not for sale.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
6 painstaking months after losing so much. Hope is the one thing that's still free.
We had saved and saved and saved with the intention of buying, and now we are spending on renting. But I do feel optimistic that do we buy somebody's house and make it our forever home? I want to have a home that the kids can bring grandkids to, and I want it to be an Altadena. I need it to be an Altadena.
So you just pulled an inhaler from your pocket.
Right.
You never told me about that. You were actually still using it.
Yes. Yeah, just to be able to open up your lungs when you have difficult days.
That's a bit of a gut punch.
Firefighters in general are dealing with that all over, and first responders are.
This is what the PCH looks like at Will Rogers.
That's Los Angeles Fire Captain Eric Scott in the initial hours of the Palisades fire. The flames bellowing down the canyons, tearing through the streets below.
When did you know that this was going to be different than almost anything you've ever dealt with?
That night of January 7th, the wind was unlike anything I've ever seen before.
Scott started his career as a firefighter paramedic.
It's a very fast-moving fire.
Now he's the public face of the LA Fire Department.
How many days were you out there working on that fire?
For me, I was out there personally for 28 days. So that was by far the longest deployment I've had over the last 20 years.
This house has become a blowtorch, very quickly igniting
The other house, you can hear all that popping. Gives you a sense of why so many neighborhoods here have been completely obliterated.
More than 16,000 homes burned in the Eaton and Palisades fires and thousands of vehicles. The fires cooking off a toxic brew of contaminants.
Were you wearing a mask the first few days? We do the best we can. We carry masks with us, hoods, bandanas. But in a wildfire, it's a very arduous profession. You're hiking hills, you're pulling hose, you're trying to evacuate people. It's 20, 30 days sometimes.
But now, nearly 6 months after thousands of firefighters battled those infernos, initially focused on public health and safety, many are now finding it's their own health on the line.
So you just pulled an inhaler from your pocket.
Right.
You never told me about that. You were actually still using it.
Yes. Yeah, just to be able to open up your lungs when you have difficult days.
That's a bit of a gut punch.
Firefighters in general are dealing with that all over, and first responders are.
Scott says he himself began experiencing respiratory issues while the Palisades fire was still burning.
For me, it was just started with a persistent cough that was annoying and didn't go away. But finally, I went and saw a couple doctors. They both said you have persistent wheezing. They give you albuterol, then give you a chest x-ray. And they said, yeah, your lungs are thicker, and now you need to go see a pulmonologist.
A number of different studies are now monitoring firefighter exposures to toxic contaminants from the LA wildfires, using everything from donated tissue samples to silicone wristbands that some of the firefighters wore as they battled the fires, which are now being measured for contaminant absorption.
Here we can see the different...
One study already reporting preliminary results from blood of a small sample of firefighters who responded in LA.
We found high amounts of lead in the blood of firefighters as well as mercury. And that also is consistent with the fact that those two toxic metals were very high in the air about 2 days before we collected the blood.
Dr. Kari Nadeau at the Harvard Medical School is part of the LA Fire Health Study, a 10-year collaboration of a number of different institutions working to assess the health impacts of the wildfire emissions.
We're really excited to be able to help our science get to the public in real time to help understand both the short-term and long-term effects of wildfire smoke.
The researchers have already been able to trace lead and mercury in those initial findings all the way to the cells of the firefighters. And these are toxic metals that could have potential consequences down the line.
They affect the DNA so that the DNA is changed in its function. And in this regard, the wildfire smoke miscues the immune system so that it gets activated in a chronic way, so that it causes a lot of inflammation that can lead to diseases like lung disease, heart disease, brain diseases, cancer.
At Cedars-Sinai, Dr. Susan Cheng is studying the health impacts among both civilians and firefighters, impacts she says are already occurring.
That's actually translated to health outcomes that we're starting to see. We start to see them in our emergency rooms, in our clinics, and we're seeing the after effects take place even beyond those areas.
Cheng says she's hopeful that researchers will make progress.
The implications can really be broad, and that's why part of our study is to really look at how every possible organ system, particularly the cardiovascular, the pulmonary, or neurological systems, might have been affected by any of the exposures.
While doctors can't say with certainty that any one toxin caused someone's cancer, studies estimate that people exposed to wildfire smoke face higher risks of cancer, respiratory disease, and immune system changes. As these wildfires become larger, more intense, and more destructive, more firefighters across the country are being called in.
Wildfire was predominantly a West Coast issue. We're now seeing wildfires from coast to coast, Newfoundland to Lahaina out in Hawaii. We actually had a wildfire in Manhattan, of all places. So if you're gonna have a wildfire in Manhattan, you're gonna have one anywhere.
Edward Kelly is the president of the International Association of Firefighters Union.
We don't have anything on the market right now that is adequate to protect us from these exposures when we're fighting these wildfires.
Occupational hazards are still a chief concern in this line of work. And cancer is now the leading cause of line-of-duty deaths among firefighters.
The fact is, the actual exposures we endure during the course of a career take a greater toll than the risk when we put our lives on the line day in, day out, going out the door. Testimony to that is the fact that we've lost more firefighters in New York City from their exposures working at Ground Zero than we did on 9/11.
The International Association of Firefighters is partnering with UCLA and UC Davis on its own study to track the toxic exposures of firefighters who responded to the LA wildfires.
We don't know exactly what the LA fires will yield compared to what the 9/11 exposures were. However, we need to be proactive on that. We need to do more health monitoring, like for the LA fires and other incidents similar.
My name is Michael O'Connell, and I'm a retired lieutenant from the New York City Fire Department. I want to personally thank the committee members for allowing me to be here today to tell my story, which is really no different from the thousands of others who suffer from their heroic actions.
These are the bills that, we got passed.
Now, retired Lieutenant Michael O'Connell has become an advocate for continued funding for 9/11 responders, more of whom have died from exposure than during the attack itself. He knows too well the personal risks that come with the job. He was only 25 years old on September 11, 2001, when, as a probationary firefighter with the FDNY, he rushed to Ground Zero.
We went days with nothing, and then I want to say maybe a few days in, they gave you your regular painter's dust mask. I think maybe by the next week, I remember having like a mask that had like a respirator, like the things that are on the side. But by the time, you're spending that kind of time working in it, there's only so long you could wear that. So, most guys weren't wearing that for a significant period of time that could actually help you.
In the years after, he was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called sarcoidosis, related to his 9/11 exposure.
I live with this on a daily basis, and it's like this happened yesterday. Most people that are in the community, especially first responders, it follows you. And it's a scary reality that we live with, of knowing that so many people are still getting sick and dying.
People are describing this as a 9/11 type event for first responders. Is that something that concerns you?
Yeah, of course it's concerning. We know the significant cancer and deaths that transpired. So they're learning best practices, and we're trying to bring that information here to Los Angeles.
Tasked with that job is Battalion Chief Aaron Guggenheim, who heads the department's wellness program.
As we saw from the World Trade Center, oftentimes there can be delayed effects from these types of exposures. So what we're trying to do is arm people with the resources to take care of their health now and into the future.
And experts are hopeful the work being done now will help firefighters in the future.
There are therapies that can help prevent worsening of inflammation. There are therapies that, if you can detect it early, you can get in early and try to prevent the worsening of cancer, for example, or the worsening of dementia, or the worsening of asthma. And detecting it early matters, and you can do something about it.
There is no doubt it's a long road ahead for Los Angeles. Uncertainty for those who lost so much, including some of the first responders who rushed in to try to save what and who they could. Captain Scott's respiratory issues are ongoing, and he continues to see a pulmonologist.
We really encourage our membership to go to annual full physical checkup.
To get a baseline?
Yes, and then you'll have an idea when things are spiking, and not just try to be macho and put it off, but we gotta try to take care of ourselves for the long haul.
And what remains strong, perhaps stronger than ever, might be the oath of the firefighter.
This is something we signed up for, and we're there to protect life and property, and we take the precautions that we can, and we move forward.
I mean, does it feel like you're mortgaging your future in order to do your job now?
To some extent, yeah. I mean, I don't concentrate on that, and I think, I'm just a spokesperson for all firefighters, and we're kind of built the same way. We're there to mitigate the emergency, to help those that we are sworn to serve, and at times that will and does come at our own risk.